Well, we have reached time, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the challenge webinar for the Hack the Urban Circular Economy, Making Waste to Talk Digi hackathon. My name is Jana Hager, and I'm from Ultrahack. I will be hosting this event today. The agenda for our event will be that we'll start out with partner presentations. Pekka Niskasaari from Forum Virium Helsinki and the Krabatit project. Oh, Jussi, can I ask you to mute, please? And then we'll have Rani Rantamäki, the senior advisor from the City of Helsinki Circular Economy Program, to present that. And finally, Anne Del Goulet will represent Time for the Planet to introduce that partner. After the partner presentations, we'll have the challenge introduction by Pekka, and he will discuss the challenge itself, the topics, expectations for winning team solutions, things of that nature. Then I'll come back on and discuss practicalities, including the timeline of events leading up to the hackathon, how to register and build your team, what the prizes will be, a reminder of next steps, and then finally we'll open up the floor for Q&A, and you guys can ask questions of any of us here, any of the partners or myself. So that will be our agenda, and without further ado, I can turn the floor over to Pekka.
Yeah, hello everybody and welcome for this webinar, and shortly I will open the presentation here and start about the introduction of Forum Virium first, and the partners in this event for the upcoming hackathon. You can see from the logos. And I'm representing Forum Virium role and activities. And let's go further on. So briefly about Forum Virium Helsinki. We are a non-profit innovation company owned by the Helsinki city, established 2005 and having core activities as seen here. We have done a lot for improving the functionality of Helsinki city, including digitalization and data activities around the city data. And main operations run over the EU projects, and totally we have about 60 experts working on different projects. Currently about 40 active projects in the run. So people are pretty satisfied for our services, and we work with the citizens in doing the agile piloting and testing, but also with the companies who are actually the accelerators for activities. So and the results should be reflecting the smart city, the most functional smart city target of the Helsinki. And like told, the activities are not done so that the Forum Virium is the main carrier and activator of all things. So we need, of course, the help of citizens, help of the city officers and organizations, and also help of the companies. And that will formulate our main mission to co-create open futures. And the main unachieved target is the most functional city of the world. We have a lot of supporting organizations that we are members of. I think the most relevant for the current achievements are the Open and Agile Smart Cities Network, in Nordic level the Smart City Network, and Big Data Value Association. And of course, talking about Finland, we have a lot of cooperation with Finnish Center of Artificial Intelligence. Here are really living persons from our team. Some are of course missing, but a lot of impressive people working in our organization. And if you have not seen, we have been in headlines in New York Times and so on. So Helsinki and both Forum Virium is pretty known globally, so we open and offer an excellent possibility for your solutions to be communicated over all our networks. And we have a new mayor, Juhana Vartiainen, and he is strongly committed to support our mission too. So on the picture you can see our chairman and our CEO on the right, Mika Malin, and chairman Mikko Rusama, and mayor is in the center of the picture. But back to basics. What's behind the hackathon is the project that we are currently running. Funny picture. It's kind of a hybrid of a frog or smart pin. But this started of an issue studying the cross-border dimensions of disruptive information technologies together with our partners in St. Petersburg, Information and Analytics Center, LUT University from Lappeenranta, ITMO University from St. Petersburg, and we, Forum Virium, representing Helsinki too here. And the funding instrument here is an European neighborhood instrument, cross-border operations, and we get funding from EU, Russian government and Finnish government. But please note that this hackathon is related to Helsinki region and the operations in Finland. So we are not talking about hackathon dimension to be done in St. Petersburg or in Lappeenranta. There has been separate actions for that. And then some more opening the roles here. On the left side, we have studied some top tech issues related to city development and digitalization in last couple of years, including Internet of Things, some blockchain topics, some big data issues. And finally, we have reached the operational topic of solid waste management, digitalization issues. And this hackathon is all about that. So finally, the results we will have here are formulating kind of final results for the project. Cropodit, and the project results will be reflected then to report, but also if we find interesting solutions, we hope that they can be deployed sometime in the participating cities, Lappeenranta, St. Petersburg or Helsinki. And I really hope that we can see there some shiny, nice new innovation approaches for this topic, which is touching everybody as a consumer level, but most companies also, and globally sustainability issues too. So thanks, that's an introduction part.
Thank you very much, Pekka. And at this time, we will introduce Roni Rantamäki from the city of Helsinki.
Yeah, hi from my part as well. And I hope you can see my presentation. And if not, let me know. So I represent the city of Helsinki, the city executive office, and the program for circular economy. And well, it's officially called a cluster program, and the cluster comes from the businesses and other actors in the Triple Helix cooperation axle located or active in Helsinki. And why is it not switching here? All right, sorry. Yeah, the objectives for this program is to increase the business activities, which means for the city part that we want to create jobs and we want to create growth in the circular economy business. It's a kind of a niche of the broader clean tech spectrum of businesses, and while doing this, we want to decrease emissions, especially coming from construction. And one of the bigger background strategies in the city is the Helsinki Circular and Share Economy Roadmap, and the really tight agenda of getting Helsinki carbon neutral by 2030. And it's a city-funded program, so we're not EU-funded. It's our own money. It will be active for 3 years. It started last year in the summer, and we have about 3 million euros at our disposal. And the store is, well, it's mostly businesses located in Helsinki, but it could also be businesses that are in some way active in Helsinki, especially in the construction or demolition sector. And we have cooperation with most of the universities in Finland. We are not excluding anyone. We are open for businesses or anyone who wants to cooperate with us, as long as what they want to do is along the lines of promoting circular economy in particular construction or other areas that we will address later, and have some connection with Helsinki. Either the company should be located in Helsinki or they should be active in some way in Helsinki, preferably. So we are starting with construction, although the program does entail more circular economy action than just construction. But the biggest potential in creating business is in the construction sector, especially if you include energy, and it's very tightly connected to the energy sector as well. And Helsinki has lots of property. Helsinki has lots of activities in construction, demolition. We have materials. We have both demand and supply of different kinds of raw materials that we could get out of demolition projects, and the transportation routes within the Helsinki different sites is quite manageable. It's not ideal with Helsinki being partly on a kind of like an island or a peninsula, but it's still quite a short distance to transport heavy materials. So what we have done so far, as we started last summer, is a big bulk of our work has been trying to get a grip on what the legislation allows us to do. I just noticed that I had my camera off. And the legislation and administrative restrictions to using construction materials, again, as in reusing them. It's not that easy because there's a legal framework from the EU with CE marking and other standardization issues. And then of course, the validation of the materials just to make sure that they are safe to use and don't break and cause any hazards to or safety. And in general, we have been preparing different kinds of procedures and projects together with the network partners. We have been gathering network partners. We have about 80 at the moment, different businesses and universities, etc. And together with them, we have found lots of potential to test new solutions. And sites could be the city's own construction or demolition projects or privately owned sites and projects. And one of the really big issues is improving the tendering criteria together with businesses, so that we know that what can be actually done, what could we demand from the market when we are tendering different construction related circular economy issues. And cluster membership it's free, and you're not really obliged to do anything except promote our common goals. But people have provided their own sites and projects for co-creation or co-innovation. We can develop and test new solutions together. We can provide some funding for different kinds of R&D and I projects, or together with different businesses find new as a service models or other new innovations in the circular economy of construction and demolition. And one big part that we are also tackling at the moment is training and coaching for planners and architects, so that they can better take into account the aspects of reusing not only materials but whole construction elements like walls and such. But that's something that's a bit tricky at the moment with the legislation, as I said. That's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ronnie. And we will now go to our presentation from Anne Delgoulet about Time for the Planet.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm here to introduce to you Time for the Planet. What is Time for the Planet? Well, Time for the Planet is a citizens' emergency plan to cope with the climate crisis. The core idea is to finance, commercialize, and deploy worldwide 100 innovations to tackle the greenhouse gas emissions on a global scale. The problem is global, therefore individual efforts to change our consumptions and reduce them are musts, but won't suffice alone. Why focusing on greenhouse gases? Try to fight on all fronts and you'll make no progress. Greenhouse gases play a major role in the climate crisis. So let's start by fixing this gigantic issue first. How? Thanks to our action plan. First step, we've launched a global call for innovation. As long as the innovation targets greenhouse gases by preventing, reducing, or capturing emissions, Time for the Planet is interested. We accept everything from high-end deep tech, meaning technology-intensive solutions, to no-tech solutions. For instance, changing the clocks is a no-tech solution. We organize ourselves to change the clock 1 hour back or forward in order to align our daily schedules with daylight, and therefore we save up energy on lighting. Innovations have to primarily target the sectors responsible for 90% of the global greenhouse gases emissions, namely energy, transportation, industry, agriculture, and construction. Innovations can be either zero emission, making the activity emission-free, or be energy efficient, improve energy yields and diminish resource consumption, or develop sufficiency, simply reduce our needs and consumption, or finally, capture emissions, prevent gases that we cannot avoid producing to be released into the air. So, if your project fits the bill, make sure you apply and submit your project to Time for the Planet by the end of the hackathon. Anyway, step 1, scaling innovations, nailed. Now, step 2, assessing and pre-selecting the best innovations. The assessment process is multi-step. First step, the collective intelligence of more than 4,000 volunteering assessors is leveraged to sort and pre-select the best and most impactful innovations. These shortlisted projects are then thoroughly studied by a scientific committee. The final stage is the market test. Is there enough demand for the innovation so it would be deployed globally, and therefore the positive environmental impact of the innovation would be maximized and lasting? Third step, making innovators collaborate with successful entrepreneurs. When Time for the Planet invests to create or support a company developing an innovation, we want to stack all odds in our favor. That's why we pair innovators with competent collaborators on everything related to business and entrepreneurship. Fourth step, financing. I think you have figured that part by now, but if you join us, you can be part of the financing decision by voting in the General Assembly. Last point, open source. To maximize the chances of success, the innovations and sister companies of Time for the Planet will be replicable freely thanks to an open license agreement. The licensee will only have 2 duties. First duty, the licensee must measure yearly the volume of greenhouse gases that their activity prevented or captured and declare it to Time for the Planet. Second duty, the licensee must share transparently with all licensees any and every development and improvement they've made to the innovations licensed. Time for the Planet is a non-profit, limited by shares company where everyone is welcome. Let me explain. Anyone can become a co-owner of Time for the Planet starting from €1. People and organizations that take part, meaning the shareholders, won't receive a regular dividend, but climate dividends, meaning the amount of greenhouse gases that the shareholder held capture or prevent with their investment. Of course, the sister companies of Time for the Planet are bound to make profit, but it will not be distributed to the investors, but reinvested in the innovations. A couple striking figures to close off this presentation. Time for the Planet is currently owned by more than 37,000 shareholders that have consciously invested knowing they would not get richer for it. Among them, there is more than 5,000 non-citizen shareholders, meaning companies, NGOs, cities, etc. A significant part of them is actively volunteering, just like me, to help their company, Time for the Planet, grow. There are more than 7 million euros already raised in less than 2 years, putting Time for the Planet among the top-ranked European crowdfunding. And we're just getting started. The goal is to raise 1 billion euros. Finally, we already have 3 viable innovations that are currently being developed and commercialized.
Great. So now that we have heard from Time for the Planet and all of the partners at this point, I can turn the floor back over to Pekka to discuss the challenge itself.
Great. Let me open the presentation once more here. So I will tell you a short story about the background for the hackathon, including most of the details. Some content upcoming. This might be a little bit longer story than you are expecting, but let's go from the rock bottom up to this hackathon topics. And I will tell you first the Cropodit project focus, then some circular economy potential. We have found some showstoppers we are realized during the project time, surveys done, some just briefs of those, and then findings, key solution areas, and then rolling circular to linear pack. It's a question mark. We'll learn that soon. Some topics, quick intro for those, and then summary. Okay, about the project stakeholders and their roles, like I introduced the Cropodit project earlier, here are the main things for the partners should be deploying during the project. And like told, we turn to disruptive technologies to be focusing on the digitalization of a solid waste management issues. And we have different things in the project. One of them is, of course, the education and information exchange, which is done mostly with the partnering universities. And the whole project lead is LUT University from Lappeenranta. And like mentioned, Forum Virium Helsinki is mostly operating on this SME type of dimension. So finding solutions, opening possibilities with hackathons, and then we also have this so-called virtual demo center operation, and you can find the information from our webpage later on. But some words about the global circular economy potential that we have there. Some nice picture we got from FEAD, the organization from European level, and I like this picture since it's explaining a little bit more than we have used to have. from circular economy points. And there are many interesting fields and dimensions, mostly, of course, the consumer dimension that we all know, but also, like Ronnie mentioned, that the construction and the demolition type of activities are really huge volumetric stuff, and they kind of touch all of us in emission way, air quality way, or the waste way. So why circular economy has a lot of potential? There are some key factors, at least in the EU dimension, is that we have a lot of funding programs and ambitions coming from European Union and Commission. Of course, circular economy is in global focus. The business potential is huge, like we all know. And as a warning signs, we have seen that there is also starting to be silos growing. So we have to fight against these silos to get open data, more digitalization, open solutions, but also the business potential help to solve these global issues. Like Ronnie mentioned earlier, that we have clear indication that circular economy is supporting carbon neutrality and better air quality, since most of the big construction areas are, of course, inside urban areas. There are data available, like from Helsinki, we have this hri.fi dataset, a lot of open data freely available, and you can refine them for business use as you like. That's available, and some cities are following, and there will be a lot of global data open, and private data, of course, exist always. Consumers and individuals are mostly involved in most sectors that we know. Learnings and models are replicable and scalable in the global or European dimensions, and digitalization is the key asset that we have in the future. So this starts to be formulating the next areas of where we start to talk about this hackathon. During the project, we of course have found out the different showstoppers in practice, and we have studied issues in Finland, Nordic, and in European level, but also in the areas non-EU partners like in Russia. So we have to recognize, like also in the Helsinki presentation, we noticed that we would like to do something nice, technology way, testing new, agile piloting, and so on. But there are, of course, legal obstacles like the waste legal limitations available in all countries, also not in EU areas, but many other countries too. Plus, when we deal with the individual data, we have GDPR issues. If we like to share and compare individual level data, that needs to be anonymized, and there is a lot of that kind of technical challenges. Technology acceptance, when we talk about blockchain in used for the waste management data, or acceptance, or any kind of contract type of approval, there is some prejudiced values, like we always confuse that everything related to blockchain is Bitcoin and so on, which is faulted information, like we know. Also, the time is running, technology is moving on, so we need to have really fast steps to deploy any technology solutions and bring out the showcase. Then on the company and city level, of course, individually we represent in the companies and city organizations the individual skills and knowledge levels, and that will of course create some kind of possibilities, but also it can create mental barriers. And we have assumptions that some areas don't take care of the waste or circular economy at all, but the reality might be a different thing. Finding relevant data if you want to do something digital solutions, applications, and so on. The most needed thing is, of course, to have the relevant data. Otherwise, it might take a long time to gather suitable data to support AI or big data use. So these are the current showstoppers found by us, but maybe there are some more too. Anyway, during the project, we executed some surveys asking citizens, companies, city officers, in this case from Helsinki region, about waste management on household level and so-called private level and public parks and garden areas. The survey was pretty long, but we received 146 replies. And here are some key findings as follows from Helsinki region. We asked about new technologies and should they be used in the waste management, and like these three groups, the participants agreed that yes, we should use a lot of technology to solve the issues. And what kind of technologies are familiar for the citizens, city officers and companies? Surprisingly, AI has been in the news lately, cloud computing, robotics, and so on. Blockchain and my data are not so known, but they should be known. That's my conclusion for that. On the waste management side, now we must remember that this is touching only less than 150 Helsinki citizens or individuals. Helsinki citizens pretty satisfied for our operations in waste management in Helsinki region. There are a lot of possibilities, and most of the issues later on also and found in the surveys is that there are the informatics part, guidance part. These kind of things are global issues that there is a lot of improvement needed. Finnish citizens recycle pretty actively, like you can see from here, that textiles maybe are the biggest obstacle, and that the boxes, recycling and collection boxes, are maybe far away or something like that. But there are EU level and national level improvements coming for that area too. Some open questions were in the surveys, that what kind of ideas people have, and of course the tidiness, clean environment, the containers, trash bins, they attract small animals in the city level, and that's a little bit annoying, of course, and it's a global issue surely. Logistics, now we're using these lorries which carry the waste from point X to point Y, and they generate a noise, they generate parking issues, of course, they take a lot of space from the city area or street area, and they of course create a danger for the children and so on in some dimensions. On a recycling in practical level in households, the trash bin boxes in a home or smart bins not exist in home level, so that's a little bit challenging. Also some yards and garden areas are challenging, that you don't have a place for the bins anymore. This of course is for the existing and a little bit older areas a big challenge. And then if you want to recycle, for example, these textiles, you might have longer distances to drop your items, so that's a practical issue. And textile waste is a big question mark. How to, very unclear situation. You can bring items back to shop and put them in the back to factory line as a raw material, but how is that done and who is taking that in and so on? There are a lot of question marks. solid waste management logistics, what are the most relevant logistic challenges identified? Of course, the exhaust and emissions of logistic vehicles, air quality issues. Most people and individuals think this is big issue. Traffic noise, unnecessary pickups, so you will empty containers which are not full, which is generating domino effect. Waste of fuel, waste of space, waste of different resources, and creating emissions, of course. How to mitigate problems? Most of citizens, at least in Helsinki, and city officers and companies know that there are smart bins. You can use smart sensors to recognize the level of a bin. How you would apply new tech like AI for recognizing routing or the logistic issues. That's one thing. And then real-time, just-in-time container bin pickups should be one solution. Comments based on the individuals. Okay, then as you know, there are solutions for solid waste management in technology level. We all know that there are sensors, IoT boxes, which indicate that when the trash bin is full, level information. It can even include some material recognition, of course, the weight of the box or the bin. Robotics are used in the refining chain mostly by picking the correct plastic items, metal items, and blocking them in the certain container boxes. So on the refining, pre-refining sector, the robotics are widely used. Of course, this might be one future step, that the picking up the litter from the public areas by the robots should be also done. It's technologically possible, and this could be applied to material recognition too. My data, big data issues are popped up in the EU level also. Pay as you throw issue. You can find it information from our text-based challenge or topic description. But what is that? Is that you pay as much as you throw away, so more you recycle, less you pay. This is an initiative that is being pushed by the EU, but legally there are different obstacles to get that solution wider deployed. So we call that the payment intelligence in a way. And also when you have a data, you can do a lot of predictive analysis and activities to avoid rush and overfilling. So everything is done in time and as a predictive way. On the logistic of the lorries, there is a lot of things to do. That can even reach bin location planning and any apps that give solutions for early warnings and indications might be useful. Then smart bins available nowadays use volume analytics and sensors preventing overfill and misuse, but there are also bins able to compress the waste. So the emptying the bin is not necessary so often. Helsinki is using also these solutions, and some Finnish companies are making these solutions, and they even work with most of them work with the solar power. So they are really environmentally friendly things. Okay, but then let's go to urban circular and rolling flat issue, or how we could see the thing. What's the core of the hackathon is that if we look the whole urban area as a circular economy and focus, cut some areas away and think about what's happening, is that the consumer is one part of an urban environment whose actions are user selection focus. So what you buy something, when you buy something, you think about maybe the reuse value, or you think about what kind of waste this will generate and how much your carbon footprint is. So there is a lot of information coming in that way. And on the industrial side, you have industrial refiners who use this waste, metals, plastic, textile, bio, to reformulate this waste to different raw materials, and that's the really important part of urban circular economy. And then, of course, some is incarnated, so it will generate energy by burning the waste, which is the least wanted solution. So that should be minimized in next upcoming years. But anyway, if we look at the information flows and what's happening behind the data and activities, of course, the logistics, you bring the new stuff in and you roll out the waste away for refining and reusing. So different data storages have been created for that in city level, national level, and so on. And this traditional way is to collect transportation and collection data and optimize the logistics. And I call that digitalists in logistic area. This is not so much done. It's partially solved, but not totally solved. Not totally done. We have a traditional industrial circular economy data refiner or user, which can recognize the waste volumes and the segment data. So what kind of waste is coming, and then control the demand supply type of operations in this refining industry or reusing industry. But the new areas is on the left side, more and less. Consumers create data in the future in the IoT way or whatever way. So we will get more data directly from consumers, not only from the logistics and not only from the retailers or supermarkets or producers, but we get the data directly from consumers. Who knows how? But that's a new trend, and that's creating data created by consumer. And then we have digitalists who are newcomers and with no relevant circular economy skills. So they can take different data storages and information and combine the data and findings in the way that the consumer could be controlled and informed in the proper way. So it's just kind of creating just-in-time circular economy intelligence, if we call it like that. So actually, our topics on the hackathon, number 1 is CE, circular economy in construction waste logistics. It's touching the area of logistics and collection and transport. I will tell that later on. What is the main thing in there? Then we have a second topic, which is a material identification on construction yards. So if we work on the urban area and there are demolition and construction sites, there are traffic between the sites and waste collection points. And also there is a need for identification of materials which are becoming tear down or the waste type of materials. Then the third one topic is tech for the consumer type of approach. So these are the 3 main topics, and I will go deeper in this with upcoming slides. So number 1 is the coordinating the logistics of material flows on construction and demolition sites. And simplified picture in the right on the corner there is that when you do something and build, you have many small loops in there, and finally you have waste. So if we kind of open the issue, what's the main issue here is that in sometimes you collect the waste from the areas, from demolition areas, and then you bring that to waste areas. But some of the waste could be immediately put in the new use in some other areas. But nowadays that's a limited use, and we want to have new ideas and perspectives for solving this issue. So instead of one-to-one point traffic, there would be one-to-one-to-one-to-many points, or what kind of logistic new findings there could be. But now, of course, the construction waste or the demolition waste is handled via legal, electronic or manual forms, collecting the data, volumes, and transmission pathway from where to where information. That's legally obligated thing you have to do. But as you think, the whole construction thing in the urban areas is that, of course, this demolition and construction things generate noise, air quality issues, and of course all kind of emissions. It can be dust from the demolition, but it can be emissions from the vehicles moving the items. So this is one big thing, and that's why we want to have your ideas how this could be solved. Main thing is here that supply and demand is maybe not touching each other enough. So let's see what you can find for this. Some figures and facts that the EU objective is to have 70% recycling on the construction demolition waste. And that's a high demand. If you look on the left side, you have some numbers, not really from the last year and so on, but the levels are not so high. And some areas in some countries are higher than in the other areas. And some countries are really leading in certain areas. So you will find this information from nearly any Google reachable statistics that how the construction and demolition waste is handled in Europe. So I urge you to go for Google and check the current data in there. So we can see that there is a lot of gap between the objective and the existing situation. So there is your brains and work needed. Then secondly, the topic number 2 is identifying materials at the demolition site. Obviously, we need some kind of tech in the areas of construction yards, how to recognize the materials, how to prevent human errors to counting volumes, verifying materials, who would be immediate stakeholders of the data in order to gain maximum benefits, where you share the data, is it private, is it open, new ideas, highly welcome. So to be honest, there's a publication available for the waste management protocol. And if you look the most construction yards, you will maybe find this so-called low-tech boxes that you put the wood in certain metal in some and plastics in some of the boxes. Okay, that's a good start. But meanwhile, on the domestic side and city level, we think about things much more technically and much more technologically than in the construction areas. So there we hope to have your ideas and findings. And finally, the third one, increasing recycling rates with technologies, is touching consumer or individuals in the urban areas. And like reflecting the surveys we have done and some other information sources, there are technologies that could be easing the recycling, but there could be also ways to give incentives and bonuses for citizens, and handling that is needing a lot of ideas there are not so many solutions for giving these bonuses or collecting information from citizen level. There are the information or data is coming nowadays mostly from the last point, or it is coming from the production side of plastic users and so on. So there's something obviously that we can do. This is in a way story to say that some things are done. So different approach maybe, but for your inspiration, here are the things that has been already done in some level. Like I told, in USA there are some recycling apps that you take a picture and the application is guiding you what can be done and so on. Bins, smart bins, there are waste level sensors, there are smart waste bins that help you circulate or recycle kind of small scale. But for example, for the construction yards, this kind of solutions doesn't exist really in commercial way. And then there are trash compactors and e-waste kiosks available. So not in this hackathon, please do not duplicate these ideas. These are for your inspiration. Then finally, summary of topics. What are the things? Number one is solving waste flow issues in urban constructions. And we are looking for idea-based solutions to help city with digital tools and data. We are not expecting ready-made fully applications or solutions. On the topic 2, to better realize material type, quality, quantity at demolition size. Same appears here. Idea-based solutions, please. And think about the really huge lorry bins that will be moved instead of using some intelligence in there. Surprisingly, no solutions done. Using technology to better participate and understand and smoothen circulation on the consumer side. And here is the keywords like pay as you throw and bonuses, incentive models, and so on. And we're looking for idea level plan or solution. So that's the idea there. And the key success factors in this total hackathon as compressed format is that the idea-based solutions and plans, which could be deployed furthermore with digitalization, so they can be refined, reused, further developed, scalability of ideas that they can really be done in some way. And the innovation, novelty, and impact related to topic is, of course, the things we are looking for. So this is mostly the story I have. So end of these things, and on the QA session you can ask more details or get back in the
Yes, thanks very much. That's a wonderful run through of the topics and the situation surrounding the challenge origins. So I'm just going to run through the practicalities leading up to the hackathon as discussed in the agenda, starting with the timeline of events between now and the hackathon. So now is the rest of the time that you have available to register for the event and find a team. From today until next Wednesday, you can still register and create your submission. You just do that by going to ultrahack.org/wastetalkdigi. You can see there the URL. If you need to take a screenshot for your reference, that's where it is there on the lower left. You need to complete your submission by the 19th and have your other team members join at the submission that you or one of them creates. The registration deadline is midnight Eastern European time on the 19th of January. So all teams and submissions need to be registered on ultrahack.org by midnight that day. After that, the next day, we will do together with the partners team selection, which means that we go through and evaluate the submissions to figure out which ones will be approved to participate in the hackathon. So this is to say, make sure that you get across to us very clearly in your submission, at least a starting idea, and let us see that you are really, really interested in participating so that we can evaluate who would be the best fit. We will notify all approved teams that they have been approved via email, and we'll send you onboarding information so that you understand a little bit more about the other milestones and what you need to prepare for them. On the 24th of January is Meet the Mentors, which is one of those things we'll send you onboarding information about. During the Meet the Mentors session, which is considered mandatory, you'll need to introduce your solution to the mentors, who will also introduce themselves to you. And this will give the mentors a chance to get a first impression of your idea as it stands before the hackathon, and maybe give you some brief comments about their starting thoughts about what might be improvable or anything else that they initially, just in that first conversation, might want to respond. And that will allow you to begin to develop your solution a little bit before the hackathon even begins. The hackathon itself takes place on the 27th through the 29th of January from 5:30 p.m. on the 27th until 2 p.m. on the 29th. And that will take place online. You will have during the hackathon support from our high quality mentors. There will be coverage from those mentors throughout the event. We will match you up with the mentors that we believe will be able to help you the best at each checkpoint stage. Video communication will take place just like this webinar over Zoom, and text communication throughout the hackathon will take place over Slack. We'll send you information about how to use those platforms when we send the onboarding information. So between now and the 19th, how to find the dream team. First of all, as I stated a moment ago, you do need to register individually for the event. You'll want to introduce yourself and your skills and ideas to the team to see whether or not you guys all agree that you are a good team. And a way that you can get connected with other potential participants if you don't already know one another well is to check out introductions and submissions on ultrahack.org on the participants webpage. You can read through submissions of existing teams on the submissions webpage and get more information about both participants and submissions that way. And if you see someone that you find interesting or a team's idea that you really like, you can message those people through the website to join or build a team. And you have the option to message either individuals or an entire team that has an existing submission. So again, to remind you, the deadline for registration and submission is midnight on January 19th, Eastern European time, and you need to have a submission if you would like to be accepted. We won't be able to evaluate you at all if you do not know a starting idea. And then next steps, teams after that, team selection, working on your idea with your team prior to the hackathon, the Meet the Mentors session, and the hackathon itself. So ingredients of a winning team. We encourage you to start looking for those team members right away so that you can solidify the skill set that you're looking for. We typically recommend that you have about 3 to 5 people in your team so that the workload divides most evenly. And the best criteria to form your team on would be common interest in a challenge. So you were all drawn to one of those topics and to the challenge itself. A common solution idea, you're all pretty agreed on something that you think would be a good solution to one of the topics. Complementary skill sets, so strength in different areas that will enable you to come up with the best idea and implementation idea. And diversity of perspectives. So maybe you have different backgrounds that will enable you to see things differently and come up with a creative solution. Now I'd like to just discuss the prizes that are at stake. The prize pool for winning teams will be 6,000 euros, but not only that, there's an opportunity for winners to be endorsed to Testbed Helsinki for the opportunity to prototype their idea in Helsinki. And furthermore, if the project fits the scope of Time for the Planet, winning teams can submit their projects and be selected to get funding and support from Time for the Planet as well. So some pretty enticing prizes there. And lastly, I'd like to just again remind you of those next steps. Please do sign up on the website and contact interesting team members before the 19th of January at midnight, which is your registration deadline. then we will announce the selection of the teams late in the day on the 20th of January, that next day, which is a Thursday, and each member of the selected team will receive that confirmation email. So please follow the instructions in the email if you receive it to confirm your participation and find out more. And if you have any questions about any of this, either the production manager, Anne, or myself can answer email, and you should be able to reach us pretty easily, especially me. I can vouch for that because I am here speaking to you now. So if you have any questions after this webinar that don't get answered, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'd like to open the floor now for any questions that we may have. There's an option under the reaction section to raise your hand, or if you'd like to just unmute your mic. Alternatively, you can type in the chat if you want to ask a question there, and we can go around and just see what questions people might have that we can answer. I'm not seeing any hands raised. If somebody wants to just unmute their mic and ask a question, that is fine. Alternatively, if everything was perfectly clear, we will make Pekka's demonstration, his slideshow, available on the website. Also, this webinar will be published to YouTube and posted on the website, so you can review this information and the slides if you need to. Oh, I do see a hand raised. Atsenachai, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, good day. Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, from discussions so far, because my internet has been acting up, so I really didn't follow the discussions seamlessly. It appears the hackathon is mainly focused on construction waste. I wanted to find out if solutions that are tailored to address maybe recycling problems generally will be accepted during the hackathon.
Pekka, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I tried to catch the question in a way. So yes, indeed, why we are focusing on the construction type of recycling and this kind of logistic issues is that the relevance to Helsinki is pretty huge. And if you look to identification of the materials in construction yards in technological level, that's a low level now. So there's a lot of ideation that can be deployed. And on the third topic, we are looking for the kind of, let's say, recycling innovations close to consumers. So we know that we recognized earlier that there are so many technology solutions available for smart bins and these kind of things. So that there is actually not in our interest to ask that kind of generalistic recycling or that kind of innovations coming in. But we're really focusing on the construction side, since the impact for Helsinki is pretty big, and also the chance to make a digitalization ideas and innovations, it's promisingly high. So hopefully this answers a little bit.
Thank you very much.
We had a question in the chat that was, do all team members need to be students if I'm a student? And the answer is no. Your team can be composed of any combination of professional students, citizens that you like. And I see Trem has a hand raised.
Yes, I have a question. Can the team choose a topic, or will the topic be assigned to each team?
So you would be able to choose your topic.
Okay, thank you.
And again, when you create your submission, you'll want to have an idea. So you would have identified your topic by the time you create your submission. And that's something we'll be able to see when we are evaluating whom to approve and invite. Any other questions in the chat or the video? What types of attachments are acceptable? You know, that's a very good question. I think it's open file format, but I can check that. And if you want to send me an email or just try on your own, if you need to send any submissions via email to me, I'll put my email in the chat and we can consider that if you have trouble with the file format. But I think it is open file format, probably with a size limit. Any other questions? Well, do I have any other statements from any of our partners or anyone else on the call who would like to make comments based on any of the questions or anything else that may have come to mind during the webinar? If not, a reminder that the website will be updated likely late today with the webinar recording and the slide presentation that you saw about the challenge. So please keep your eye out for that and bear in mind the deadline for submissions is the 19th at midnight Eastern. Thanks so much for being here today at the challenge webinar for Hack the Urban Circular Economy, Making Waste to Talk Digi.